Of course, last night we had a city council meeting, and, it was just jam-packed with all sorts of things.
She's laughing.
She is laughing.
Okay, so you got out of there at what time?
5:40.
Okay, so this was, in essence, a 25-minute meeting.
Just about.
So, there was oodles and oodles of, discourse and information that was flying around at light speed. Okay.
It was quiet last night.
Yeah, so, relatively speaking, there are several things that are going on in the city that aren't necessarily, they are council issues, but, there weren't anything really just pending front burner last night.
No, I mean, things are moving forward, things are going smooth, and when things go smooth, you don't hear about them.
Right.
Which is nice.
It's really interesting.
When it's quiet, it's nice.
I find it interesting that until the fire station began erection down there at 19th and Texas, that we just had repetitive water main breaks just over and over. And now what they're doing is they're just...
That infrastructure down there is so old.
Well, they're making it brand new.
That's good. Needs to be.
But I guess a lot of that's because, when you got a fire station that big, it takes a lot of water. I mean, you can't... You know what I mean?
Well, the fires don't happen right there.
No, I get it, but they do fill up trucks, and
they do. Right.
I mean, it's just there's a different level of demand when you're working with people like that. So anyway, you have any idea when how's this completion going and all? What's the forecasted time for completion on that? Do you know? Or
on
is
the
it
fire station?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's coming up pretty quick, though. Mm-hmm. Have you been down there and looked at it? Well, I guess you have, since your business is right down there.
I drive down there all the time, yeah.
It's looking
I drove
really
by
good.
Just a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is looking good.
Of course, hey...
Could you pull that microphone just a little bit closer to you?
Is that better?
Yeah, I think, of course, you got a great contractor working on it. Lee Lewis is...
He's good.
Yeah. Anyway, so you're thinking when, or do you know?
I don't know what the completion date on that is. Let me see if I can find out. Because I'm not sure what the date is. I'd have to just look it up. I can look that up real quick, though.
Well, it's kind of interesting. Like I said, they started down the middle of the street with, the new water lines. And, they dug these trenches about 2 feet wide and about 9 feet deep, something like that. Mm-hmm. Then they were laying all these new pipes and things like that. And, now they're moving over and, doing stuff on the outsides of the street. So there are a lot of things that have been happening in the downtown area and the redevelopment, infrastructurally for a long time that people aren't really paying attention to, or they do, or they see it, but, they're not really thinking about that.
Mm-mm. No, we're in phase 3 of the power lines going underground.
Pretty much all the gas lines and stuff have been replaced in the downtown area. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was over like a year ago. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what is actually coming with the downtown area? Because, you have people like, Regular Dykes.
Mm-hmm.
Man, they're doing a ton of stuff down there.
They are. NTS is down there. There's NTS did a huge remodel on their building. They've got, I believe, 150 employees down there now. There's a lot going on downtown, and there's a lot of movement. There's still a lot to be done, but there's a lot of movement downtown.
Well, I don't know, and a lot of people don't realize this, but in the it's the RDAC building, Regular Dykes Auto Group.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of neat because they've got a restaurant going in there. There's a Zach's Club in there. They're doing a lot of things downtown to make the attraction of people coming back in, and I'm just telling you, I had been looking at some other property in the downtown area over the past year or so.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've had my property on Texas about 7 years. But I'm telling you, from the time that I bought my property to the time that we are at right now, property values have over sextupled for what people are asking for that stuff.
And what does that tell you? There's movement downtown.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's money going on. People just don't go down there and say, oh, I think this needs to be rebuilt. Because it just makes good financial sense. Mm-hmm. Aside from that, all the legal stuff and, the courts and, stuff like that, they're focused on the downtown area, and instead of moving out of the suburb. I remember when I used to have to go to the bank and stuff and do stuff with my mom when I was a kid I lived in North St. Louis County, man. We'd have to drive an hour. We'd have to drive an hour to get somewhere to do something like that. Here it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah,
12
we're so
minutes
spoiled.
from one
Right.
end to the other. I was in Austin last week for a conference, and you're in traffic for an hour.
Took you 12 minutes to get down the street, didn't
Oh,
it?
my goodness. I don't know how they do all that traffic
Yeah.
every
we are spoiled
single
here.
day. We're very spoiled. We're very spoiled, and let me tell you, we have good roads. Mm-hmm. We complain about roads here, and you hear complaints, but let me tell you something, folks. We have good roads, and we have wide roads.
Unless you're talking about the Lubbock Cooper area along Woodrow.
Well, but they're working
And
on
I'm
those,
just saying,
and they'll bring those
people
along.
that are doing that, we really need to rush that along.
They'll bring them on.
It really needs to move.
Once again, pirate pride is showing
I know.
through.
Well, it's just for safety. There's that school district is growing so fast.
They are.
And our kids are driving on that road to get to high school. And that road has got to be redone.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's-
It will be.
it's
It's a
got to be-
dangerous road.
It
man.
is.
It
It's
is.
got
You
to
gotta
be a
watch it.
priority. It's got to take priority because it's just growing. We've got another elementary school in the future planned for the university area in 1585. And, I mean, that whole area out there just really needs road work. I'm just throwing that out there.
All right.
And I'll tell you, all that's,
And
in the
that's
works.
county
But
roads.
yes, but I serve on the MPO, and so all of that is talked about. All of that's in the works. It's just you have to have your priorities, and there's only so much money
Right.
every year
Right.
that comes in, and so
So
you
who do I
just-
need to talk to get that be a priority for all of us
Well-
involved?
Well, I can assure you, your county commissioners are working on that, and the city council's working on that. We all work together on the MPO, and so we talk through all that and what needs to be done and what kids are driving where, and all of that's talked about
Right.
every month at those meetings. So it's not something that's overlooked. I can assure you.
Let me know if I can help with fundraising.
Absolutely, you can get out there and pound that pavement.
That's right.
In conversation with Councilwoman Karen Gibson, 716, good morning. We's in conversation with Karen Gibson. She's, just in case you didn't know, a councilwoman on the Lubbock City Council.
Which met last night.
I've
You
been
know-
doing that almost 6 years now.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe.
It seems like an eternity.
Some days are
I'm
longer
just
than
saying.
others.
7 days or longer.
Okay, Big Valley who over the EMS, service provisions or the emergency medical service, and this is
Was today the deadline to set that committee?
no, it was last week.
Last
They
week?
said it.
Yeah,
They
last week.
actually set the committee Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Last Tuesday.
Yeah.
So
I guess they're
yeah.
working on that.
There are 13 members on this committee that are looking at the issue. Issue being University Medical Center, which actually EMS, Emergency Medical Services, were provided by University Medical Center before University Medical Center was a medical center. That was the first thing that they ever did. So it was kind of like their bailiwick day one. The interesting thing about this, Karen, is that in conversation a week or so ago, we had been talking with Eric Finley from UMC. We were also talking with Dr. Ryan from Covenant and Ainsley Nelson. She's the regional comm director. And I didn't know this, and I want to get your opinion on this because the proposal for the exclusive agreement by University Medical Center was for a 5-year deal.
Correct.
As opposed to just being one year renewable, and that's, I guess, the way we've been doing it for 40 years. However, then it comes to my attention, and I want to know if this is right or wrong, that there were 3 subsequent extensions to this, which would have made that actually a 20-year deal. Yes or no?
Well, it would have just evergreen, yes. I mean, it would have
So it would have locked it up for UMC for 20 years.
Well, it would have been 5 years at a time, yes.
Correct.
Yes.
But that would have been, was that a conditional renewal, or was that just 5 years and 5 years and 5 years and 5 years? I mean, because a renewal, is it first right? Is that like a provider's first right of refusal, or what?
Each council would have had to approve it. I mean, it would have come to council after 5 years.
Okay. Second thing that came to light that I was, and maybe I'm just dumb, stupid, and ignorant. Don't say anything, Laura.
My mouth is shut.
You keep your mouth shut too, Gibson.
I'm not saying
we
a
might
word.
be thinking it, but we're not saying
a
it.
word.
What happened to my studio? Okay. Now I've lost my train of thought.
Then our mission has been accomplished.
I'll get my composure back in just a second. Okay. Relatively speaking, this proposal, as it was put to us from the Covenant people, were that this was actually placed on consent agenda as opposed to the regular
Right.
agenda, which would include citizens' comments and more open discussion.
How would that
And the
happen?
concern of the people from Covenant Hospital were that this was kind of going to end up being a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am thing. And they said, well, there were some of the council people were kind of shocked and were surprised that it ended up on consent agenda period like that.
Well, you can pull anything off of consent. You can pull whatever you want to off consent to talk about it, to discuss it. Any citizen can do the same thing. They can do citizen comments on any part of the agenda. So that doesn't concern me as much as the agreement itself.
Well, here's what I was saying, because a lot of times the consent agenda gets, there's just like a dump truck full of items that get on the consent agenda, and they'll move any discussion points up ahead of consent agenda so people can leave and go home. And it's just like, all in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, no. Next. And
Sometimes it's kind of, let's just get it through.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
hope, and it's maybe they'll miss it, and that may not be the way it is, but that's the perception of let's put it on consent and maybe it won't get caught and get through. But this
that what happened
council
with this
reads
in this case?
This council. It's not going to happen with this council. I can assure you, because this council reads the agenda, and so it's caught. It just is not going to happen.
Well, all righty then. We're broadcasting live from the Project Auto Sound Studio, the hottest sound on wheels, back with Karen Gibson, City Councilwoman, after last night's meeting. Buenos dias. This is Lubbock's First News. How you doing?
Bilingual this
Yeah,
morning.
well, trying to be politically correct, you know me. Always in the forefront of my mind.
Yeah.
All right, we were talking about emergency medical services and the pending proposal that lies before the municipality of Lubbock, Texas. Now, it is governed by, or the discussion is governed by, I guess, a committee of 13. Now, I don't know if they just said 13 is the lucky number or what. But anyway, it is chaired by Jeff Griffith, city councilman. It is also cohabitated with Karen Gibson, city councilwoman. Now, We have University Medical Center has 3, Covenant has 3, Grace Clinic 1, Heart Hospital 1, Commissioners Court Uno. Who are the other 4? We have 2 from Fire and Rescue, and just 2 other people from the city.
Well, I don't
Just
know
randomly chosen for
No.
the city? Who? What?
Well, here's what I have in my notes: 13 reps, UMC 3, Covenant 3, G1, Heart 1, Commish 1, FNR 2, City 2.
Right, there'll be staff.
City staff.
Oh, okay.
All right, so what's your take on all this business?
Well, I hope we can come to some kind of a compromise. The one thing I want to look at is the data from both hospitals. Both representatives from the hospital that spoke at that council meeting said, of course, they have their data. Well, of course they have their data. I want to see that data. And because if the stats are the stats, and so I want to know how they're matching up and how they're getting that. And their consultants came up with those numbers how. And so I want to see it. And I think everybody needs to see that and how they came up with what they came up with for that hospital. Because if it's that far off, something's wrong, because numbers are the numbers. It doesn't matter.
So what you're saying is there is a vast chasm of difference between numbers from one and the other?
Their consultants are going to sway it towards their hospital. I get that. I just want to see what it
Really?
is.
So you're talking about
They would
stats
really do
about
that?
Do you think?
about the need for another EMS system?
Right. And I don't know if there is or not, but I want to see it. But I think one thing we need to remember is this isn't an argument. This is a discussion about what is the need and what is best for the city. I don't, and I think everybody on this committee feels the same way. I would hope so. I don't think we're going to go in this room and argue about it. We need to discuss it and what is best for everyone.
Here's what I'm thinking. All right, just because we've done it this way for 40 years, to me, that's a lame excuse.
I don't like that answer. I mean, it's not just because this is how we've always done it.
But here's one thing that does make a lot of sense to me. In my business, I operate my business in a certain niche. We make signs and we fabricate, so we do it a certain way. We cater to a certain clientele. We treat them a certain way and interface in a certain way. And it has taken me years and years and years and years to step back and reposition myself. Mm-hmm. And it's just now beginning to really flourish. Now, you could sit there and you could juxtapose my business with shops that are exponentially larger than me with 500 times my cash flow. And people will come up to me and say, well, maybe when you can expand to the point that you can compete with these people or those people. Let me tell you something, sister. They can't compete with me today. Because they're,
bigger is not always better.
That's right. Because it's, fast and cheap doesn't necessarily fill the need.
I don't disagree.
Now, what I'm saying here is this. In 40 years, there would be a learning curve, and there has to be a huge benefit of people operating in a niche for 40 years when actually that was the niche that was there before University Medical Center was a twinkle in Mom and Daddy's eye.
I don't disagree with that, but remember, I haven't seen any stats. I've seen no numbers. So I can't tell you whether one EMS or 2 or 10 or I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, there's more to come. 7:43, good morning. Tom and Laura, this is Lubbock's First News. Okay, City Bus just won some kind of award, and
Yeah, they did.
it had, the thing that's stunning about this is the the quantity of the adjectival consideration that it has gotten in the title of the award. Can you spill that for us?
Would you like for me to or Karen?
Yeah, well, Karen, you
Go
can.
ahead, Laura.
Well,
You've got it right there in front of you.
The council held a special recognition last night for City Bus. It was awarded the Federal Transit Administration Region 6 Transit System of the Year for 2016 by the U.S. Department of Transportation Award. Woo! Anyway, the Region 6
I'd like to put that on a name badge.
consists of 150 transit systems covering Texas, New Mexico, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. So it's a pretty big deal. It's a nice award.
Congratulations to City Bus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, what
They were ranked according to by safety, affordability, accessibility, customer service, and community involvement.
Okay. All right, so Laura was wondering when we're going to get busing south of 82nd Street, and you were saying that's probably not going to happen anytime soon.
Well,
I
they
know
did a
anybody that
feasibility
lives
study.
south of 82nd that would like to see bus service
You start
out in that area
start calling
needs
your
to
council
start
person.
calling.
Yeah.
Make your voice heard, because right now it looks like there's not much of a need, and I'm thinking there's got to be more than just our household that could use
Well, and once again, money is
that.
involved.
Right,
Those three dirty little words.
Those-
It's just money.
It's just money.
right.
And so they did a feasibility study, and I can't remember, it's probably been a couple of years ago, on where to cut the cost and what to do and where the low ridership was. And that was where
Right.
it was. And so that's what you do. You cut your low ridership. And
Right. Well, but, everything's moving out towards South Lubbock. That area is about to just explode.
It is. And it
with
may be
households.
time.
And so in the future, I see maybe City Bus venturing out past 82nd
Well, it could be time to
Street.
do another study. It could be time to look at that again. As much as that area has grown, south and southwest, and even southeast is growing.
Right.
So it could be another. It could be time to look at that one
Maybe.
more time.
Maybe.
Okay, we're going to take one more break. Back with Karen Gibson in just a couple of minutes. This is Lubbock's First News. Okay, topic of conversation, city council meeting. A tattoo and piercing shop could be coming to a building near you. And just before I ask where we're at on this particular issue, I was just going to ask you a personal question, Karen. Where do you get your tattoos and piercings done?
I have 0 tattoos.
I'm just saying.
Me too.
None
Thought I'd ask.
hidden, none visible. I have 0 tattoos.
I did ask. If I could ask her a personal question before I
Was that
asked the
it?
question. So
That
I just
was
didn't
it?
put it on. Yeah.
All right.
And what did I say? Yes, you can ask me
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. So go ahead. All right. So
You
where
should
are we?
never tell that to Tom.
Where are we at on this? I mean, a lot of people are, I guess, upset about it. Some people are like, well, hey, you know what? I mean, this is America, land of the free, home of the brave, free enterprise, blah, 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 blah.
Well, they'll have to go before P&Z. I mean, it has to be approved.
That would be planning and zoning. That's code for planning
That the
and zoning.
council voted to.
They can go into C2, C3 zones.
Okay.
So they can go into commercial zones. And it just expanded where they can go into.
So, I mean,
Well, yeah, let's think about this. People that get tattoos are it's everybody. Once again, it's changing. The whole market's changing, and so that whole business is changing.
well, there's a friend of mine that I found out that she had 2 tattoos.
And you didn't even know it, did you?
Well, actually, the makeup on her eyes were
That's
tattooed.
exactly
We're not
right.
even going to ask how he found out.
and eyebrows.
That's
And
right.
stuff are tattooed. So, I mean, it's just like, who would have thunk?
That's right.
I mean, it's just.
Yeah, it's more and more of an art
It is
form.
an art.
And,
It is an art
and I
form.
got to say, if you know these, have you ever been to Bonus Burger?
No, I have not.
It's one of the best burgers in town. It's that little A-frame that's
Really?
just
Yeah.
Don't take it to go. You got to eat it there. But anyway, there's a gal that works in there that has her whole arm done and stuff like that, and it's just
called
like
a sleeve.
A sleeve,
Yes.
okay. Well, okay. Thank you, hipster.
You're welcome.
Glad to know that.
I even knew that.
We're in the know.
See, we don't have any, but
I'm
we know
dumb,
about other
stupid,
people.
and ignorant. But anyway, it's just. I mean, it is just like it's actually beautiful.
Oh yeah, there's some beautiful tattoos out there.
And it's like smooth and. It's not.
My daughter better not be getting one.
There's a guy that I used to go scuba diving with back in the 70s, and his name was Stanley Trahan. Mm-hmm. He used to go to Austin all the time, and he had like spider webs tattooed on his chest, man, and they were just.
Yeah. Well, my daughter wants to be an actress, and so a sleeve is probably not a good idea for her.
But anyway, what I was driving at there is like the people that do these things at that level and quality are just. I mean, they're
artists.
Truly artists. Yeah.
They're true artists. Both my kids have them.
Well, the
Both
ones
my
that do them
daughter-in-laws
well.
have them.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, by the way, if you want to
My
get a bonus
oldest daughter has
burger,
one.
how about this? 795-7400. Call it in before you get there and eat it when you land, okay? Karen
Thank
Gibson.
you so much for coming in today.
My pleasure.
Appreciate
It's always
you.
good to see you guys.
Thank you.